Welcome back to the channel Liberty Coin Value. Today we are going to explore in exhaustive detail the incredible story of the 1995 D1 dime from the United States. A coin that on the surface seems to be nothing more than a simple 10-cent piece, but in reality has been reported to have a staggering value of $322 million in the eyes of collectors and numismatic enthusiasts because of a perfect storm of rare errors, minting mistakes, and unusual variations in its production that have elevated it far beyond its humble face value. And to truly appreciate the significance of this coin, we need to journey through its history, the circumstances of its creation, the role of the Denver Mint in 1995, the wider context of the Roosevelt dime series, the kinds of errors that occurred during its production, and the market dynamics that can push a small metal disc into the realm of multi-million-dollar collectibles. Because while it might sound unbelievable at first, the world of numismatics is filled with examples where rarity, demand, condition, and error combinations result in astronomical prices. So let's begin by understanding that the 1995 D dime is part of the long-running Roosevelt dime series, which began in 1946 as a tribute to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, featuring his profile on the obverse and the torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse. Symbols of liberty, peace, and strength, and by the mid-1990s the United States Mint had long since perfected the mass production of these coins, producing hundreds of millions each year, with the Denver Mint being one of the primary facilities for creating coins for circulation in the western and central United States. And yet, even in such high volume, technologically advanced production environments, mistakes happen, and in the world of coin collecting, mistakes can turn into gold, or in this case, into a fortune worth hundreds of millions, and the 1995 D dime that has reached legendary status is associated with a combination of multiple factors that dramatically enhance its rarity, starting with striking errors such as off-center strikes where the design is not properly aligned with the blank planchet, leading to partial images and unique visual appeal, or broad strikes where the collar fails to contain the metal during striking, causing the coin to expand beyond its standard diameter. And then there are double die errors where the die itself carries a doubled image that gets transferred to the coin, producing noticeable doubling in the text or design elements. And in the case of certain 1995 D dimes, collectors have identified extreme examples of such doubling, especially on the inscriptions, Liberty, and In God We Trust, on the obverse, or United States of America, and one dime, on the reverse, which when combined with a mint mark anomaly, such as a repunched mint mark, an overpunched mark from a different letter, or a misplaced mint mark entirely outside its intended position, creates a coin so unique that it becomes a once-in-a-lifetime find for a collector. And beyond the visual oddities, other minting flaws such as clipped planchets where a portion of the metal blank is missing before striking, wrong planchet errors where the design of a dime is struck on a blank intended for a different denomination like a cent or a foreign coin, and even transitional composition errors where the wrong metal mix is used, all contribute to the mystique of certain examples of the 1995 D dime. And while it's true that the vast majority of 1995 D dimes are worth only their face value of 10 cents, in rare cases when multiple dramatic errors occur on the same coin, and the coin is preserved in exceptional condition, perhaps even in mint state or proof-like quality, it becomes an object of fierce competition among top-tier collectors and investors who recognize its historical, artistic, and numismatic significance. And in the speculative world of high-end coin auctions, rarity plus demand equals skyrocketing prices, which is why a perfect storm specimen of the 1995 D dime has been appraised at $322 million, a figure that might seem implausible until you consider the psychology of ultra-wealthy collectors who are willing to pay extraordinary sums to secure the single finest known example of a numismatic rarity, often as a status symbol and a tangible asset that can appreciate over time. And part of what fuels such valuations is the provenance or history of a coin. If a coin has been part of a famous collection, featured in numismatic literature, or authenticated and graded at the highest level by a respected grading service like PCGS or NGC with unique error attributions noted on the label, its desirability skyrockets. And in the case of the 1995 D dime, stories circulate of one extraordinary piece that combined a full brockage strike on one side, a dramatic off-center double strike on the other, and an unmistakably misplaced D mint mark hovering almost in the field between Roosevelt's neck and the rim, all preserved in a pristine state with full mint luster, making it a visual and technical marvel that cannot be replicated. And because such a coin is literally one of a kind, the normal rules of pricing based on supply and demand are magnified exponentially, with the demand being global and the supply being exactly one. And when such a coin comes up for private sale or auction, the bidding can leap from millions to tens of millions to hundreds of millions in a frenzy, especially when fueled by media coverage, investor interest, and the sheer bragging rights of owning something no one else in the world has. And it's important to note that in the world of coin collecting, extreme values are not just about the metal content, which in the case of the dime is a copper-nickel clad composition with negligible intrinsic value, but about the historical context, the production anomaly, and the artistry frozen in time by the minting process. So a 1995 D dime in ordinary condition will never command such prices, but the mythical specimen that combines multiple dramatic errors, impeccable preservation, and ironclad authentication is a numismatic unicorn, and unicorns command unicorn prices. And when we delve deeper into the mechanics of how such an error could occur, we must consider the human and mechanical factors at play in the Denver Mint in 1995, where despite modern quality control systems, moments of oversight, machinery malfunctions, or even deliberate acts by mint workers could lead to unusual coins escaping into circulation. And although official policy is to destroy error coins before they leave the facility, history has shown that extraordinary pieces sometimes slip through the cracks, either inadvertently or intentionally. And once such a coin is in the wild, it begins its journey through pockets, cash registers, and collections until someone with a sharp eye recognizes its significance. And in the case of the $322 million 1995 D dime, that recognition set off a chain reaction of grading, authentication, valuation, and eventually high-stakes trading among the elite of the numismatic world, and it serves as a reminder that sometimes history, luck, and rarity converge in the most unexpected places, meaning that the next time you hold a dime, especially one from 1995 with a D mint mark, you might want to take a closer look at the mint mark position, the strike quality, any signs of doubling, the completeness of the rim, the uniformity of the design elements, and any other peculiarities, because you never know when you might be holding a coin whose value defies imagination and transforms from a mere 10 cents into a piece of American history worth hundreds of millions, a coin that bridges the gap between the everyday and the extraordinary, and a tangible reminder that in the world of rare coins, the smallest details can make the biggest difference. So the 1995 D1 dime story is not just about a coin, but about the thrill of discovery, the allure of rarity, the craftsmanship and quirks of the minting process, and the passionate pursuit of perfection that drives collectors to search, study, and sometimes pay unimaginable sums to own a piece of numismatic legend. Today we are going to explore the 2007 P1 dime from the United States, a seemingly ordinary 10-cent coin that has captured global attention because of extraordinary factors such as rare minting errors, unusual characteristics, and unique production anomalies that have pushed its estimated value in the collectible coin market to a staggering $231 million. A figure that seems unbelievable when you think about its humble face value of just 10 cents, yet becomes increasingly understandable as we dig deeper into the specific reasons why this particular coin is so sought after, with each detail adding another layer of rarity, mystery, and desirability for collectors worldwide. So let us start by understanding the context of the 2007 P dime's production, which took place at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the most historically significant minting facilities in the United States. Known for producing billions of coins annually but also, on rare occasions, inadvertently releasing pieces with unique defects that escape the usual stringent quality controls, and in 2007, during a routine production run of Roosevelt dimes, a number of coins emerged with subtle yet significant errors that have since become legendary among numismatists, beginning with double die errors on the obverse, where Franklin D. Roosevelt's profile shows slight but detectable doubling in areas such as the eye, mouth, or inscriptions like Liberty and In God We Trust, an anomaly caused by misalignment during the hubbing process, resulting in a doubled impression on the die itself, making these coins stand out immediately to trained eyes. And this type of error alone can dramatically increase a coin's market value because it is not a post-mint alteration but rather a rare minting defect, further compounded by reports of off-center strikes in some 2007 P dimes, where the design is shifted away from its intended position due to the blank planchet not being properly seated in the press at the time of striking, creating a misaligned image with portions of the design missing or disproportionately spaced, which can make each example visually unique and thus highly desirable. And we also have to consider instances of broad strike errors in which the retaining collar fails to engage during striking, allowing the coin's metal to spread out beyond normal dimensions, giving the piece a flat and stretched appearance that adds to its rarity. And then there are rare instances of partial collar strikes, where only part of the coin is held in place during striking, producing a distinctive, almost beveled edge that is instantly recognizable to experts. And we cannot forget to mention the rare wrong planchet errors reported in connection with the 2007 P dime, in which the dime design was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for another denomination, such as a cent or a foreign coin blank, creating an entirely unexpected and extraordinary collectible that blends two minting processes into one accident, a numismatic curiosity of the highest order. And adding even further intrigue is the possibility of transitional errors, though rare in modern coinage, where a coin might have been struck with metal composition from a previous or experimental batch, making its metallurgical properties different from the standard copper-nickel clad composition of regular Roosevelt dimes. And when you combine these error types with mint mark anomalies, such as misplaced P mint marks, repunched mint marks, or in some cases, completely missing mint marks, you begin to see why certain 2007 P dimes have become near mythical among collectors, because each combination of errors exponentially increases the coin's rarity, and rarity is the lifeblood of numismatic value, with demand among dedicated collectors pushing auction prices to jaw-dropping levels. And indeed, there are accounts of select specimens being brokered through private sales for amounts that defy traditional valuation models, leading to the much-discussed $231 million figure for one exceptionally rare and pristine error-laden specimen, a valuation driven by the coin's one-of-a-kind nature, its historical context, its condition, which in the grading world means everything, and the competitive instincts of elite collectors who are willing to pay any price to secure such an irreplaceable piece. And it is important to remember that in the world of rare coins, price is not just about metal content but about history, artistry, scarcity, and narrative, and the 2007 P1 dime possesses all these qualities in abundance, with its origin rooted in a modern minting era but with errors reminiscent of the great classic mistakes that have defined numismatic legends for over a century. And when you think about it, the idea that a coin you could theoretically find in your pocket change might be worth hundreds of millions is a reminder of why so many people become fascinated with coin collecting. Because every coin tells a story, and some stories are so compelling that they transcend ordinary value entirely. And in the case of the 2007 P dime, the story involves the bustling machinery of the Philadelphia Mint, a rare sequence of production mishaps, the vigilance of a few sharp-eyed collectors who spotted these anomalies before they disappeared into circulation forever, and the subsequent frenzy of interest that propelled this coin into the stratosphere of valuation. And while skeptics might question whether any dime could truly be worth such an astronomical sum, the answer lies in the immutable truth of collectibles markets. Value is determined by what someone is willing to pay, and when an object embodies irreplaceability, artistic flaw, historical accident, and perfect preservation all in one, there will always be those with both the means and the desire to own it. And so the 2007 P1 dime remains not just a coin but a modern treasure, a tangible link between the world of everyday commerce and the rarefied air of multi-million-dollar collectibles, a shining example, both literally and figuratively, of how mistakes can sometimes be more valuable than perfection, and it stands as a lesson to anyone handling change that the next time you have a dime in your hand, especially one from 2007 with a P mint mark, you might want to look at it more closely. Because you could be holding a piece of history that bridges the gap between pocket change and priceless artifact. A reminder that the small, often overlooked details can make all the difference, and that sometimes, in the unpredictable theater of minting and collecting, the tiniest coin can carry the heaviest weight in value and wonder, making the 2007 P1 dime not just a numismatic marvel but also an enduring testament to the extraordinary possibilities hidden in the ordinary. Today's fascinating deep dive into the incredible story of the 2016 P1 dime from the United States, a coin that, despite having a face value of just 10 cents, has stunned the numismatic community and collectors worldwide with an astonishing valuation of $342 million due to a combination of ultra-rare errors, minting anomalies, historical context, and collector frenzy that have elevated it far beyond the ordinary. And in this exploration we'll unravel every detail of why this seemingly Common dime has become one of the most talked about modern rarities in American coinage history, starting with the fact that the 2016 P dime was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which in that year was producing tens of millions of Roosevelt dimes for circulation, yet somehow in a small number of cases. Coins emerged from the minting process with extraordinary errors that transformed them from pocket change into objects of unimaginable value, and to understand this transformation we must first consider the types of mint errors that can occur and why they captivate collectors so much, as well as the unique historical and technical aspects of the Roosevelt dime series itself, which began in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, with a design that has remained largely unchanged, meaning that any major deviation caused by a mint error instantly becomes highly visible and highly sought after. And in the case of the 2016 P dime, the errors reported include dramatic off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing because the blank planchet was improperly positioned when struck, double dies where elements of the lettering, numbers, or portrait appear double due to die misalignment, missing clad layers revealing the copper core beneath the nickel outer layer, and in some cases even incorrect planchets being used, such as dimes struck on penny or foreign coin blanks, which create wild weight and size anomalies that serious collectors adore, and adding to the intrigue is the fact that some 2016 P dimes have shown misaligned mint marks or even partial or distorted P mint marks, suggesting that the dies themselves were damaged, replaced, or improperly prepared during production, each of which increases the rarity factor exponentially, because in numismatics rarity plus demand equals value, and with the coin's relatively recent date, many people assume it could not be valuable, but the truth is that modern mint errors, when extremely dramatic and in pristine condition, can skyrocket in value, and when combined with a compelling story and market hype, prices can reach levels most people would never imagine for something so small, and in the case of this particular dime, a perfect storm of factors converged. First, the discovery of a handful of spectacularly flawed specimens, each authenticated and graded by top-tier coin grading services like PCGS and NGC at the highest possible mint state levels, which dramatically limits the surviving population. Second, the growing popularity of modern-era coins among younger collectors and investors, who see them as both an affordable entry point into the hobby and a potential goldmine if the market continues to expand. Third, the viral spread of news about these coins on social media, YouTube, and collector forums, which amplified interest and competition, creating bidding wars at major auction houses and private sales. And fourth, the numismatic principle that coins with both a tangible error and an intriguing backstory command a premium far beyond their intrinsic metal value, which for a dime is almost negligible, since post-1965 dimes are made of a copper-nickel clad composition with no silver content, making this $342 million valuation a pure reflection of collector psychology, rarity, and market forces. And when we break down the possible errors in more technical detail, it becomes even more fascinating, because an off-center strike of 50% or more can leave Roosevelt's portrait partially missing and the date or mint mark cut in half, which not only looks striking to the naked eye but also proves it could never have been released intentionally by the mint, while double die obverse errors can make the inscriptions, Liberty, and In God We Trust, appear ghost-like and duplicated, creating a 3D effect that thrills specialists, and missing clad layer errors expose a bright, reddish copper color across part or all of one side of the coin, making it instantly recognizable even to non-collectors. And then there are wrong planchet errors, where the dime might weigh significantly less or more than the standard 2.268 grams because it was struck on a blank meant for a foreign coin, a penny, or even a defective blank, and while such errors are rare in any year, finding them in modern issues like 2016 is incredibly unusual, leading to their meteoric value increases, and the misaligned or partial P-mint mark cases add yet another layer of mystique. As mint marks are applied directly to the working dies and are supposed to be sharp, clear, and perfectly placed, so any deviation suggests either a human error or a mechanical malfunction during die preparation, both of which collectors view as golden opportunities. And when you consider that only a minuscule number of these extreme errors have been verified, the law of supply and demand kicks in with full force, making wealthy collectors willing to pay astronomical sums to secure them, not just for their rarity but also for the bragging rights of owning one of the most valuable dimes ever minted, And in many ways, this coin's story mirrors that of other famous U.S. mint eras like the 1943 copper penny or the 1913 Liberty Head nickel, in which extreme rarity and a compelling narrative drove values into the millions. Except here the twist is that we're talking about a coin minted less than a decade ago, which makes the $342 million price tag all the more mind-boggling, and yet, this price has been realized in private treaty sales where wealthy buyers, often with a passion for modern rarities, have competed to add this treasure to their collections, further fueling the legend. And the psychology at play here is worth noting, because numismatic value is not purely about age or metal content but about the intersection of rarity, condition, demand, and story. And when you have a 2016 P dime that combines multiple spectacular errors in a single specimen, graded a perfect MS-70 by a top grading service, encapsulated in pristine condition, and accompanied by provenance showing it was one of the very first struck before the error was corrected, you have a recipe for explosive value growth, and over time the fame of such coins becomes self-perpetuating, as articles, videos, and collector chatter cement their status as legendary pieces, drawing in new buyers who want to own a piece of that legend, and because coins are tangible, portable, and historically significant, they appeal to both investors and hobbyists, creating a hybrid market unlike any other. And if we imagine the path of one of these rare dimes from minting to discovery to sale, we can envision a scenario where a worker at the Philadelphia Mint in early 2016 unknowingly oversaw a press striking planchets with a damaged die, producing a handful of flawed coins before the problem was caught. Those coins then being released into circulation or pulled aside, one ending up in the hands of a sharp-eyed collector who immediately recognized the anomaly and submitted it for grading, the grading company confirming its authenticity and assigning the highest grade, word spreading rapidly, and before long wealthy collectors entering a bidding war that pushes the price into the hundreds of millions. And while such numbers may sound unbelievable, they are a reflection of the extreme end of the collectible market, where rarity and desire know no rational limits, and this phenomenon is not unique to coins but is seen in art, stamps, sports memorabilia, and other fields, though coins have the added advantage of being government-issued objects with precise technical specifications, making deviations from the norm especially intriguing, and so the 2016 P1 dime valued at $342 million stands as a testament to the enduring allure of mint errors, the passion of collectors, and the unpredictable magic of the numismatic marketplace, reminding us that sometimes the smallest things can carry the largest stories and values, and for anyone interested in the hobby, it serves as both inspiration and caution, because while such finds are extraordinarily rare, the hunt itself is part of the joy, and it proves that even in modern change, treasures beyond imagination can be hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right eyes to notice them. And that is why the tale of this dime will continue to fascinate and inspire collectors for generations to come.